So Nintendo just recently surprised everyone with everyone's favorite pink puffball. And no, I'm not talking about Jigglypuff. Kirby is back with yet another eShop exclusive title, Kirby Fighters 2, and out of nowhere too. After striking while our guard was down, has Kirby been able to capture the hearts of his fans yet again? Okay, this isn't Kirby Star Allies, so maybe he doesn't need to do that this time. All jokes aside, my name is Tris, and let's take an in-depth look at Kirby Fighters 2 in this review. Kirby Fighters 2 is a Smash Bros.-like platform fighter that mostly focuses on Kirby's various copy abilities. It's a hectic party game, fighting game hybrid that still plays like a Kirby game first and foremost. It even has a variety of crazy, mostly explosive items. And now, 6 years after the original, we've finally got a brand new entry, Kirby Fighters 2, now featuring more copy abilities, along with a few of Kirby's friends as well. This makes for a roster 22 deep after you've unlocked them all, with the remaining slots being reserved for the returning copy abilities from the previous game, along with one entirely new one making its series debut, Wrestling Kirby. And it's definitely a thorough copy ability, allowing you to swoop in, grab your opponent, and suplex them, while still feeling distinct from other copy abilities, such as, say, Fighting Kirby. Despite most of the character slots belonging to Kirby, the different copy abilities ensure a nice variety, with each one having a unique moveset. You can keep it close range with Wrestling Kirby or Hammer Kirby, focus on better range and combo potential with Staff Kirby or Yo-Yo Kirby, or go for more of a middle ground with Artist Kirby or Bell Kirby. There's plenty of copy abilities to choose from, and they all feel unique from each other. While the majority of this roster may be various forms of Kirby, they are absolutely equal to entirely separate characters. Beyond Kirby's copy abilities, 5 of Kirby's friends are also playable, including Bandana Waddle Dee, Gooey, Magolor, Meta Knight, and King Dedede. Bandana Dee focuses on using his spear to make contact with the enemy through long-range attacks and quick movement. Magolor, on the other hand, makes use of dark magic and gem apple explosives, and isn't all that good with close-range combat. Each buddy has a playstyle reminiscent of their appearance in Kirby Star Allies, which actually makes me wonder if they'll eventually add more of them. I've personally been having a lot of fun using Staff, Artist, and Archer Kirby. Beam Kirby is also a classic, and was my go-to ability in Super Kirby Clash, but I find myself using other abilities more. I really enjoy having this variety of characters and abilities to choose from. When I first unlocked Bell Kirby, for example, I remember just how silly it is to fight and attack with bells and music. The core gameplay of Kirby Fighters 2 is quick and fast-paced, with many battles lasting a mere minute or two. The controls are pretty simple, and not as diversified as something like Smash Bros. Most attacks are tied to one button, combined with the direction on the control stick. Moves also differ if performed in the air, or after performing a different attack first. These aren't complex Street Fighter inputs, thankfully, so they're easy to understand and adapt to. It isn't as simple as spamming one single move though. It's important to take advantage of any items and stage hazards as they come up, as they can drastically turn the tide of battle. There's also a few more mechanics at play. In addition to character moves and abilities, you can even grab, which in Kirby's case is an inhale, then spitting the opponent out. These grabs can be quick, and if a teammate attacks a thrown opponent, they deal extra damage and massive knockback, sending the foe bouncing around the screen. Speaking of teams, they play a large role in this game. Majority of the game is played in a 2v2 setting, pairing you up with a buddy to fight your opponents. Thankfully, there's no friendly fire in this game, so you don't have to worry about accidentally attacking your teammate. In fact, there's the opposite. If you grab a healing item, you can run up to your buddy and give them a nice smooch to share the benefits. Sharing is caring, after all. Sometimes the best strategy is to hang back and wait for a healing item to spawn, then run in for support. I think this kept the game pretty engaging and fun, so it isn't only about throwing the most punches the whole time. More than just healing items will spawn on the battlefield. Gordos and explosives make for a very hectic fight, as well as the Buddy Shooting Star, a team-exclusive item. Working similarly to the super attacks from the Kirby Clash series, both partners have to collect half of this item, then come together to unleash a special attack against foes. When you or an opponent are defeated, it may not be the end. Kirby Fighters 2 features a ghost mechanic. Upon dying, you can slowly float around a stage, attempting to sabotage your opponents. If you manage to land a hit on your enemy, you get revived with some HP. Since same is true of the opponents, you can't just rest easy when one gets defeated. The core gameplay here is actually pretty enjoyable, especially when it gets hectic. As long as there's a full set of 4 players on the battlefield, things quickly get frantic and exciting. Playing through the game's various modes earns fighter points, which are used to level up the player's fighter rank. Basically, it's experience points and levels. At each rank, you unlock something new. Sometimes it's just an item to use in story mode, but other times it's a whole character or copy ability that unlocks on the roster. There are a lot of ranks though, 100 in fact. As of writing this review, I haven't unlocked everything yet, and it's certainly a time-consuming grind to do so. In addition to characters, copy abilities, and story mode items, players can also unlock stage and rare costume alts for some of the abilities. It definitely helps add some more charm and variety to the roster. Speaking of charm, there's 20 stages full of it that Kirby fans are sure to love. Duke it out on the Waddle Dee train tracks from Kirby Triple Deluxe, or right in the middle of King Dedede's Gourmet Go-Go from Kirby Superstar, or even on Butter Building from Kirby's Adventure. Several of these stages are returning from Kirby's Fighter Deluxe on the 3DS, but plenty are also brand new. I personally really love how some of these look like they were lifted straight from their original games. I'm a big fan of the classic appearance of Butter Building, as well as the pretty visuals of the Jam Bastion entrance. Each stage has different gimmicks to them, keeping them all interesting. Some are simple battlefields, while others have active hazards constantly changing the flow of battle. The giant hands of Springy Handland ready to toss Kirby against the screen, the lava of Haldera Volcano burning everyone to a crisp, or Dynablade landing at its nest and doing whatever the heck this is with its neck. It's a strong variety as a whole, I'd say. They're all generally pretty fun too. 2 in particular do stand out to me as more bothersome though. Castle Lololo is rather crowded, so when you add Lololo and La 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 pushing objects around as hazards, it becomes a bit too much to fight in. Gigavolt is also rather annoying to fight on, as the giant robot arms slamming down are kinda difficult to avoid at times. Beyond those 2, I'd say the vast majority of stages are rather enjoyable and interesting. This time, there's an actual story mode. In it, King Dedede and Meta Knight have teamed up in a way to top a tall tower. Kirby teams up with a buddy, and the duo work their way up the tower in chapter-based segments. It's basically a gauntlet, with each chapter being longer and more difficult, making Kirby traverse 5 floors, then 10, so on and so forth. Between each round, you can choose a reward to carry on to the next floor. This may be a one-use healing item, or a permanent stat boost for the remainder of the chapter run-through. I gotta say, these chapters started to get pretty difficult, really making me have to strategize and carefully choose my rewards. Whatever character and buddy you pick for your run-through of the chapter, you're locked into that combination until you complete it or start over. While later chapters of this definitely started to feel a bit grindy and slow, I still found myself enjoying my time going through the story. It can definitely be frustrating to get stuck on the chapter boss though. You can also challenge the story mode with a second player, which I think is a lot more engaging instead of simply relying on the computer partner. It was entertaining to strategize against bosses with another human player. In terms of the story content of the mode, however, it's about as basic as you'd expect from Kirby spin-offs at this point. Quick and simple, only really giving a one-sentence reason for why Kirby is fighting King Dedede and Meta Knight this time. It isn't anything special, but I can't say that was expected. Beyond the story, there's also something called single-handed mode. No, the game doesn't expect you to play the game with one hand like Super Mario Run or something. Instead, single-handed mode is another sort of gauntlet, only it isn't team-based, meaning you don't get to take a buddy with you. You can challenge it on easy, normal, or hard, and your best time gets recorded. It's definitely a nice way to get some practice in as any specific character, since you won't be receiving any help against your foes. It's fairly simple and straightforward. It's fun and quick, and definitely less daunting in size than later chapters of story mode. Now, let's talk about the online. You can choose to join random battles, or pair up with friends where you can mess with the same settings as you can in a normal battle, which is pretty nice. In random battles, you're quickly matched into a team battle with other players after choosing your character. It's actually a surprisingly quick process, and the longest I ever waited for a match was about 15 seconds or so. The online battles play out rather well for the most part. Gameplay was generally consistently smooth and responsive. Despite matches filled with 4 players, stage hazards, and potentially a ton of items or even explosions, there were no cases of consistently bad lag. But, like most Smash Bros. Online, you will end up finding some really laggy matches at times, dependent on specific players and their internet connection. I did, unfortunately, have to sit through a slow match capping at 5 FPS, where I could barely move or do anything, for about 6 minutes. The game doesn't offer a pause or quit option online, so if you get stuck in a situation like that and want to leave, you'll have to close the game entirely. At the very least, I feel that the internet connectivity in this game is better than the previous few Kirby games, such as Super Kirby Clash on the Switch or Kirby Battle Royale on the 3DS. Compared to some other games on the Nintendo Switch, I'd say the internet connectivity is best comparable with Mario Tennis Aces, though perhaps on par with Smash Ultimate. Playing online with friends is actually really great, and there's plenty of different settings to keep it different and interesting. The random online matchmaking was speedy. Unfortunately, you can only join random team battles online, so no solo free-for-alls. Presentation-wise, the menus and UI in this game are just as clean, pretty, and stylized as you've come to expect from Kirby. And then there's the music. Like most Kirby games, there's plenty of remixes here of classic themes Kirby fans have come to know and love, and as is standard for the series, it's all really great to listen to. I'm personally a big fan of the Bubbly Cloud stage theme, which is actually a remix of the Kirby Superstar boss theme. The boss theme against the Duo Edge is also a classic. Finally, the game likes to toss tips into the loading screens, and while this has become common for games in recent years, it's just something I feel I should note in a positive light. As a whole, Kirby Fighters 2 dropped as a pleasant surprise just a couple days ago. It's a fun game with a decent amount of content that should please a Kirby fan for some time, at least until we hear about the next mainline entry in the series. This is definitely a smaller eShop title for Kirby, much like Super Kirby Clash, Kirby Blowout Blast, or even the original Kirby Fighters Deluxe. It's definitely not as content heavy as, say, Smash Bros. Or any major game, but it's certainly another nice addition to the smaller Kirby spin-off titles. I liked Kirby Fighters 2, and I can see myself playing it for some time. There's plenty of content to enjoy here, and I've already been getting lost in it all. With a decent roster filled with wacky characters and movesets to learn, it's exciting to figure everything out and challenge people online. The eShop page claims there's in-game purchases to make, but there aren't actually any present here. Yet? Perhaps we'll be getting character DLC in the future to add to the longevity? It's hard to say. But for what's here, I find it pleasant, enjoyable, and if you have friends willing to play with you, definitely worth it for some exciting Kirby action.